Hi everyone, this is
Hi.
Pinkin from Frontlist Media. I welcome you all to another session of 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐼 Literature Festival 2026. The theme of today's session is life stories and biographies. And the session's title would be Unfolded Lives, Memoirs of Grit and Grace. I welcome all the panelists for today's session. We have with us Mr. Anand, Mr. Sourabh, and Dr. Kamini. Dr. Kamini Kusum has a PhD in management and has worked as an HR professional in various multinational organizations such as TCS, HCL, etc. for several years. She is now a full-time writer, being in the literary world for over 8 years. Kamini has penned Dare to Shine, a non-fiction account on leading women change makers in India, 7 novels and 32 digital books. Her books are well known for their strong female leads. She gives strong voices to her female characters, creating empowered heroines. Her fiction books explore the romance genre with a mix of drama, thrill, and suspense. Her works Twisted Temptations, Difficult Girls, Gunpoint Groom, Honey and the Moon, A New Dawn, and Queen, Hindi, have charmed readers across the globe. Her books have been on Amazon bestsellers list and have been received by renowned journalists like Midday, Deccan Herald, The Statesman, and Hindustan Times, among the others as well. She is the recipient of Munshi Premchand Award 2024 for her work in the field of literature. Dr. Kamini has been a part of several literary sessions and panel discussions. She has also spoken at educational institutions and literary events where she encourages and guides the budding readers of today's age. I welcome you, Dr. Kamini.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Frontlist Media, for having me on this session.
The pleasure is always ours, ma'am. So next up we have with us is Mr. Sourabh Mukherjee. Mr. Sourabh was honored with the Munshi Premchand Literary Award 2023. Midday calls him one of the front runners in Indian crime fiction, and the Asian Age calls him one of the most popular writers of Indian crime fiction. India Today has honored him as one of the 10 celebrated role models of 2022, and Outlook calls him one of the top 10 personalities to look upon if you're looking for inspiration. His books are featured in bestseller lists, in bookstores and online stores. His books are in consideration for screen adaptations. Sourabh has been honored with several awards. He received the Golden Pen Award in the Sulekha Monsoon Romance Contest 2014, longlisted in World to Screen Mumbai International Film Festival 2018. Juggernaut Select Awards 2019, Literoma Hall of Fame in the Literoma International Symposium on Literature and Festival 2020, the Man of Excellence Award from Literature Indian Achievers Forum 2021. He's invited regularly to book fairs and literary events across the country. His books have received accolades from readers, book critics, and the mainstream national media as well. An electronics and telecommunications engineer from Jadavpur University, Kolkata. In his day job, Sourabh works in a senior leadership position in a technology multinational. Author of several publications on emerging trends in business and technology, Sourabh speaks regularly in various national and global conferences and technology summits as well. He sits in the academic councils of a number of reputed engineering and technology institutions in India today. We welcome you, Mr. Sourabh.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Twinkle, for having me. Thank you.
Next, we have with us is Mr. Anand Gokani, a consultant physician with diabetes and metabolic diseases as a specialty, practices in Mumbai city since 36 years at the Bombay Hospital and the Breach Candy Hospital. In addition to practicing medicine, he lectures to students, both medical and non-medical, on issues ranging from specific medical issues to esoteric subjects of universal interest and application. He conducts seminars and workshops on management of diabetes, holistic medicine, nutrition, fitness, stress management, leadership, and ethics and values. He has written and lectured extensively on subjects ranging from nutrition, exercise, medical issues, issues pertaining to lifestyle and health on one hand, to the philosophy of death and dying on the other hand. His lectures have been widely viewed across the globe. He is a trustee at the Bombay Medical Aid Foundation, which renders financial and medical support to needy patients to enable them to obtain the best medical care. The foundation also runs an eye hospital offering comprehensive care at competitive rates. He founded a palliative care ward at the hospital to care for terminally ill patients to give them comfort and dignity in the last months of their lives. He is also on board of Alcoholics Anonymous as a Class A trustee and National Society for Clean Cities. He conducts camps for self improvement, leadership, and team building for schools, colleges, and the corporate sector as well. He's an avid traveler, writes and reads diversely, enjoys sports and photography. He's authored three books, the titles of which are The Role of Vegetarian Diet in Health and Disease, a book on photographs and aphorisms titled At the Crack of Dawn, and his latest book, A Fistful of My Sky, Memories of 𝐋𝐢𝐿𝐻, has five-star reviews on online portals like Amazon, Flipkart, and Zorba Books. He's married and lives in Mumbai. He has two sons, two daughters, and three grandsons. We welcome you, Mr. Anand.
Thanks so much, Twinkle. So I can't believe that's me.
Well, that is you. So, my first question to the panel is, it's a common question for everybody. Your writing is deeply rooted in real experiences and real worlds. What moment or memory first planted the idea of turning this story into a book?
You're choosing who to answer first.
Anybody can actually
I'll
take
take it.
Yes, please.
You see, in our training in the internship, when we do medicine and then do a 1 year internship, I was posted in a very backward village which is called Jawhar, about 160 kilometers from Bombay. And one never imagined that such a place exists. In its scenic beauty, in its complete virginity as far as civilization is concerned, and the poverty which was there only to be believed. Um, we worked there for 6 months, had a very stimulating time, and then came back to the hustle bustle of Bombay and the hustle bustle of setting up practice, making two ends meet, having a family and living life. We forgot about all this. But after several years, when I was sitting back in a kind of a pre-retirement stage where life slows down on its own, I decided to revisit that place. I had not gone there again. And to my shock and dismay, I found that everything is exactly the same as it was. And the advances made in the city were completely absent in that place. So I realized that we drive on the highway, we know the hills in the distance, but we never took the right turn that took you to the hills. And I said, let me write about it so that people might want to feel inspired to go and visit that place, do something for those people, and make some kind of a change for them. And so I started writing. At about the same time, I also felt that now is the time where I should start writing down my life's experiences, so that one day when I'm not there, my children will have at least one resource to go to and pick up something and say, "Well, our dad used to be like this." Because
That's
today,
very
if I want
beautiful.
to know something about what my dad did or what my granddad did, it's lost in posterity. So, with these two intents, I picked up the pen and I said, from where to start? And then I said, the most exciting part of my life was in that village. Let me start from there and then backtrack to my childhood and fast forward to my adulthood. And I thought that would be just a chapter or so, but it turned out to become the whole book. So the fistful of my sky is referring to the fact that the whole sky is my whole life. And a little bit of it, a fistful, is what I present in this book. So that was the reason why I chose this subject.
Very beautiful. Yeah.
That's very beautiful.
So, like I was mentioning, most of my non-fiction books are basically true crime. And I will very briefly narrate what drove me to write those books, right? So, the first non-fiction book that I wrote is called Death Served Cold. And it's a collection of stories where the perpetrators of the crime are all women. And the thought came from the one of the incidents that I was reading about, and what I realized is that uh, we always have a very stereotypical way of looking at genders. We tend to have gender stereotypes in our society, and it's very rare that you would associate women with acts of extreme violence, right? And we typically look at them as nurturers and very loving and caring and so on, and it's mostly a stereotype. And as I conducted my research, I sort of discovered more and more stories on those lines, and the motivation for Death Served Cold basically came from that. And again, the Highway Murders is about a serial killer called M. Jayashankar, uh, who sort of terrorized the highways in southern India for more than a decade. And it's a grand story. And typically, what happens is, there are a lot of serial killer stories that we read, or there are a lot of stories that we watch, especially on OTT platforms these days. I myself had started off by writing a fictional serial killer story in the Shadows of Death. So when I did the research on this particular character, it obviously turned out to be far more exciting than a lot of the fictional stories that we read or we watch. And I thought that this is a story that needs to be documented. And the last one, I'll just spend a couple of minutes on that. The Great Indian Heists. That was a very exciting experience for me. So I happened to read a couple of exciting heist stories in India, and I realized that when we see a lot of these heist films, the Oceans series, for example, in the movies, or a lot of these web series that come on OTT platforms, you typically see a lot of people who are very technologically advanced. They have a lot of resources at their disposal. And here there were a lot of these desi heist stories. People from really the interiors of the country, from small towns and villages, who carried off incredible heists. Obviously not to glorify them, because at the end of the day, it's an act of crime. But if you really look at, the limited resources that they have, and with that, the kind of heists that they pulled off, bank robberies, digging a tunnel under, 100 feet road and getting into the vault of a bank, or somebody, slicing through the roof of a running train. You see these kinds of things only in movies. And here, there are people from interiors of India who are doing all kinds of exciting stuff with very limited resources, but only with their grit and their, the courage and the passion. I thought that this would be an interesting read where, we sort of document some of these things. So that's where I think the motivation for most of my books come from. So it's something that, first appeals to me, and then I feel that these are stories that should also be shared with my readers.
I will say something on this. So actually, my writing journey started in 2016 only, and I started off with romance, romantic thriller, like got into various sub-genres of romance. I even wrote a lot of eroticas. So it's been like more than 10 paperbacks and 32 digital books. So in last 2 to 3 years, actually, I got into non-fiction. So Dare to Shine and The Protector, these are the two latest non-fiction books. So how I got the idea was I would, give the credit to my publisher only, publisher and the editing team. So they were actually, they wanted a book, do a book on women achievers, say achievers from different areas and spanning across the history, like from past, present. So since all my books, like even the romance, romantic thrillers, all I had written, they had just one common thing, like one USP, I would say. That was one central female lead. So I was already into, creating stories with strong female characters. So my publisher thought this will be a good idea to get into non-fiction, for me to get into non-fiction with a book, that would have like women achievers spanning across all fields. So that is how the idea of Dare to Shine was conceived, which has 20 women achievers, and many of them are not even known to common people. And this book is actually, I had to interview a lot of female, like say India's first private detective Rajni Pandit, India's first stunt woman Reshma Pathan. I even got to interview Bachendri Pal, who is the everybody knows she is the conqueror of Mount Everest, first Indian woman. So this way I got to interact with a lot of people, a lot of women, who had done brilliant in their own field. And then there were women from the history also. So this was absolutely a different, altogether different experience for me in the non-fiction genre. Very inspiring, and the book went on to become a like bestseller, and then went into a third reprint also recently. So this was actually very close to my heart because I got to meet and interact with real time women achievers. These were not fiction, but they were the real achievers. And then happened The Protector, which is the life journey of India's first female bodyguard, Veena Gupta. So this is the latest book which was released around Women's Day. So again, this was a very amazing experience, interacting with India's first female bodyguard. So bodyguard is something, when you talk about bodyguard, usually the image that comes into our mind is of a muscular man, wearing a black coat, black goggles, and with all the weapons. But this is not, actually, I mean, let people, think that there could be something different from this. There could be a woman also in the same field. And it is not always about, muscles and guns and weapons. So, what India's first female bodyguard, Veena Gupta, says that executive protection, which is the sophisticated term of bodyguard. So, being a bodyguard is not about muscular strength, it is about mental alacrity, intelligence, and the way you mitigate the risk. You shouldn't be, getting to a situation where you have to pick up a weapon. You should always mitigate the risk. That is the real job of a bodyguard is. So she just brought a revolution in the security industry, going on to become a global name. So the Protector, this book is all about the inspiring journey of, India's first female bodyguard, who has also co-authored the book. I think she was also supposed to be in the panel, but maybe she has not been able to join. So this is how, the non-fiction books have happened to me, and I would proudly say that all my books are centered on strong female leads, and I'm happy inspiring, young girls, women, that nothing is impossible if they have the true passion, and if they dare to do something, and if they are persistent and consistent in their effort, there is nothing impossible. Yeah.
That's very,
Very true.
very wonderful. And
Absolutely.
as a girl myself, I swear I have goosebumps right now hearing about the stories and everything. And that's very beautiful that, I mean, we never really thought that, the job of the bodyguard is actually to mitigate it first. Like it never should come to picking up the weapon.
Yeah.
So that is something which is very important to for the generation right now to understand that fighting is not the solution. Actually, not getting to the point of fight is the solution in the
Yes,
best way
exactly.
possible. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's very beautiful. So my next question to the entire panel is that during the writing process, was there any truth, emotion, or realization that surprised you or challenged your own perspective in your life?
While I was writing this book, Fistful of My Sky, it is basically about practicing medicine amongst the Adivasis. And I actually thought that it would be just a chapter or two, wherein I will make a mention about how my experience there was. And albeit maybe a little longish chapter, but a chapter. But as I started remembering characters, I started remembering patients, and in that there was one striking patient's history which I have written. And even after reading my own book, maybe I've read my book maybe more than 25 to 30 times in the process of finding mistakes in it or re-polishing it or editing it, because I hadn't the luxury of an editor who would do that for me. And I said I have to do it from A to Z, since it's my first book. And so I went through the book again and again, but every time I reached that chapter, I'd get a knot in my throat. And just shows that the involvement with that patient was so much that even nearly 40 years later, this book is based in 1981. So that's 19 and 26, that's 45 years later. It still evokes the same emotions. and it still brings her face back to me in real time. I went back to the village to trace her, but she probably died long ago because Adivasis don't live beyond 45, 50 years. Their life get taken by malnourishment or by snake bites or by intercurrent illnesses or just accidents. So I couldn't find her, but I did find two or three of the characters, and one of them I met and spent half a day with him, reminiscing all the things. And by the time the book was out, even he died. So that was very sad. He couldn't see the book in person. And one of the main characters who helped us through the entire journey, who when I went to visit that place, I tracked her husband, but I learned that she had died just 6 months before. So it underscores a very important philosophical point in my mind that nothing lasts forever, and time is fleeting and life is short. So if you have to say something to someone, it's the time is now and not one fine day. And so, ever since I picked up the pen to write this book, I got all these experiences and all these. Maybe they were deeply embedded inside, but they started surfacing. And I think it has definitely left me a bit more mature than I was maybe before I picked up the pen.
Wow, that's very beautiful.
Yeah, maybe I'll go next. So I think what surprises me through all of these stories is like all of us have been discussing is the sheer the greed of the human mind, that if you are set on doing something, uh, good or bad, the strength of the human mind to see it through, in spite of all the difficulties and all of the adversities that you have. I think that always surprises me. For example, when I was writing the Great Indian Heists, for example, like I mentioned earlier, so these are all people from remote parts of the country. Some of them are very poor, from rural areas, agricultural families, and then suddenly they have this grand idea of why don't we go and loot a bank, right? And once they are set on that, they go about it, tirelessly, for they prepare for weeks and months, very persistent. And like I said, not to glorify the activities, but the very fact that this kind of sincerity, this kind of dedication, this kind of passion, if we put it in the right channel, if we want to achieve something which is more appropriate, which is for the good of the mankind, then what all these people could have done, people who have this kind of mental strength and this kind of dedication and sincerity. So that actually sometimes makes me sad that so much of human effort, so much of sincerity, dedication, all gone to waste, because what you are chasing or what you are running after is something which is not for the good of the larger society. So I think that's something that always pains me when I write some of these true crime stories. And I always feel that that's also a lesson that we can always take away from these kinds of stories. That's what I always feel. Yeah.
Saurabh, one sentence comes to my mind. Iniquity is the mother of crime.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And that's exactly what I found in all of the stories in this book.
Yeah.
That barring like a couple of cases where the motivation was very different. In most of the cases, it was the story of people who are deprived, who are coming from the poorer sections of the society, and that's
And crime is
most
a
cases.
shorter cut to success.
Okay, I'll put my views on this. So, I think every book that I have penned down has enriched me. Every book has given me some experience, whether it was fiction or non-fiction. Even fiction also, like there has been some incident which has inspired me, some trigger point, something which has given me the idea to write the fiction. So even the fiction books have always not been purely fiction. There has been true elements in that. There has been some takeaway at the end of the book. So I would say that whether it is fiction or non-fiction, whatever I have written, this has always given me some learning. This has given me opportunity to improve myself. And then coming to the non-fiction books, obviously they are truly motivating. And every time, once I go back, and read my own books or remember the experience of writing the book, I'm filled with, like, I'm thrilled. I just think if these women can do amazing things in their life, if these women are not ready to give up in their life despite the, fine, we have a patriarchal society, we have to admit that, despite, things being assigned and segregated. Like, I still remember when I was growing up, I was told, if you are a girl, you should be doing getting into medicals. He's a boy, he should be pursuing engineering. And then, I come from Bihar, so there is a mindset there, if you are not doing either engineering or medical, you are, if you are doing a graduation, you have to prepare for civil services, or you have to go for bank PO exam. And if she is a girl, she should definitely do a B.Ed, if not anything else, B.Ed, and then go into education sector and all these things. So I still remembered all these things where, slowly, it was kind of imposed, upon girls. So I have grown up seeing all these things, but when you interact with these women about whom I have written in my books, you see how much hardship they have gone through. The society have, thrown obstacles in their path at every stages. Like, say, Pal comes from a very poor family. I had a 2 hours long interview with her. So she comes from a very poor family with a lot of siblings, and she did, just because of the society was like that, she did an MA in Sanskrit, and then her parents expected her to get into university, become a professor or a teacher. But she had different dreams, she had different goals in life. So, fighting everything, all the resistance coming from the family, the society, people saying, क्या कर लेगी ये, पढ़ाई नहीं कर रही है, she is doing mountaineering कौन सा career होता है? That is what, people used to say. Mountaineering is never a career. People never imagined that mountaineering can also be a career. But Bachindri Pal was very adamant. She knew what she had to do. And ultimately, she proved it, that mountaineering is not just, a thing of, it's not just a hobby. It can get you a good job. It can get you, a good position in life, and it can get you fame as well. Similarly, it's with other female achievers as well. So all these females whom I have written about have truly inspired me. I would say they have transformed me in and out. I think I was a strong woman always, but all these women have made me stronger and more focused towards my goal. And I think I'm very happy, all these women send out very strong messages to everyone who is reading the book. Yeah.
That's very, very, very beautiful. And I truly believe that, all the women who would be reading your books, they would definitely get inspired to a great length. But I just wanted to add that, I think in every story, whether it's a woman achiever who has achieved, whether it's mountaineering or bodyguard or whatever position she's reached at, whether it's a criminal who managed to execute a very difficult kind of crime, or might be a medical career. I think one emotion that pertains throughout the industries or throughout the emotions is resistance. I think that strongly backs almost everything. That
Very true.
resistance really helps you, and then there comes resilience, which I think makes you successful. Whether it's, I mean, it's very funny to put it like that, but I think making a crime successful also is
No, of course, it's
work of
very important.
resilience.
It
I think
is.
it's very difficult than actually other thing. I'm not promoting crimes, but of course, considering the odds and everything, I think resilience really helps everybody in all courses of life.
Very true.
Yeah.
So, coming to my next question, which is again for the entire panel, is that yes, so if readers take away just one lasting thought or feeling after finishing your book, what would you hope that would be?
I'll
I
say
think
one
maybe,
word.
let me very quickly take that. Yeah. Mr. Kokani, please go
No,
ahead.
no, no. Please, Saurabh, you go ahead.
Yeah. No, because mine would be very short. I think like I was mentioning earlier, I think the key thing is to channelize your energies and your efforts in the right direction. I think the whole idea is that Twinkle, exactly like you said, that when you read the stories, you understand that yes, maybe the objective was committing a crime, but if you really put your mind to it, there is nothing that's impossible to achieve. And then I think the key takeaway should be, you see how these stories end, how these people, essentially are, sort of, punished for what they have done, or how their lives turn out to be. And then your takeaway should be that, if I can channelize my energy, if I can channelize my resilience in the right direction, there is nothing that's impossible to achieve. So, yeah.
That's absolutely correct.
Kamini, you go ahead.
Okay. So, at the, I would expect all my readers, and I think I get feedback time to time also, that once they put down the book, finish the book, one thing should stay with them, that is patience, passion, and perseverance. These three things I have always told, and I expect my stories, also fiction, non fiction, everything, to convey the same message. These things should stay with people, and nothing is impossible. Just nothing is impossible. And if people have these three P's, we have five P's in marketing, but this
Yeah.
three P's in life, patience, passion, and
Right.
perseverance, is definitely going to help. Yeah, that is all.
That's wonderful.
In my book is basically I would love it if people, first and foremost, I call our society as the fringe society, because we live on the fringe of life. We are not gone into the depth and the heartland of the country. We live like Marine Drive, Coastal Road, Western Express Highway, and all the way on the main highway society, but not the internal heartland of the country. But when you go into that, I wanted to give a glimpse of the heartland, and I wanted people to know that there are others less fortunate than them, and that one thing we should be is very thankful for what we have, rather than keep on cribbing about what we don't have, and keep on and on aiming at things which are more than just cream and icing on the cake. Be thankful that we have a cake. And the second thing is that I wanted to make people aware that there is a population which is struggling, and that a little contribution from their side, whether in terms of money, in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of empathy, would go a long way to make their life breathe a bit easier. And I think that is true success. So if this awareness is instilled or uncloaked in their life, in many it is already there. I just want to remove the dust from the covering. And if it's not there, I'd like to introduce it. That there is a society waiting to be born, and if they can contribute to it in any form, any way, according to their expertise, then life would be so much better. Because having seen them once, it's very difficult to digest our wealth. When you know that there is someone there who doesn't have even a small needle head fraction of your what you have. So the idea was to introduce this to them. And if that is aroused, I think my book's a success. And from the 40, 50, 40, 45 ratings and reviews I received on Amazon, I've not delved further, and the verbal reviews are endless, but those ratings are and reviews are all talking the same language, that we didn't know this kind of a world existed. And a lot has been done thereafter. Many NGOs, many clubs, my own efforts have done in 4 or 5 different fields in that same area, and we've done a lot of difference for them.
That's very beautiful and commendable on your part as well. So,
Absolutely.
coming to our next segment of the discussion is that so this question is directed towards Dr. Kamini. That what message do you hope this book gives to young women who want to enter a male-dominated profession?
Okay, so both my latest books, like The Protector. Actually, this is the latest one, and last year Dare to Shine was released. So both have, female challenging the stereotypes of the society. So, see, I again, as I said earlier, if a woman decides to follow her passion with patience and perseverance, and she dares to challenge, the set norms of the society, there is again nothing impossible. There is nothing like boys club. There is nothing like, male dominated area or something. As I told you, earlier there were other different notions. A girl should get into education, she should get a BA degree, medical may, and all those things have been broken. All those myths, stereotypes have been broken. Women are, pushing the barrier away. Women are, like, as I said in my books, this India's first female private detective, Rajni Pandit, she has solved more than 80,000 cases. So detective, when we talk of detective, we always imagine, Sherlock Holmes, Vyomkesh Bakshi, all those fictional characters. But imagining, thinking of a real life detective, and that to a female, and that too, this lady is now in his 60s. So you can imagine when she would have started the career, and what kind of, resistance she would have faced from the society. So these women are inspiration. And I think, even in the latest book, The Protector, India's first female bodyguard, if you read the book, the readers will get to know what kind of, hurdles and problems Veena Gupta faced in her life, though now she is a global name in security, but it was not easy for her. She was literally branded as an escort. I mean, people didn't understand what is bodyguard. How can a female be a bodyguard? So when she said that she has to accompany her client to, different places, be with him, so people took it. Oh, you are an escort. So she had to face this kind of, you can imagine. So how she tackled everything is a really, inspiring thing to know. So I would say, girls, please don't, just don't buckle down under pressure. There is nothing that can stop you. Just don't give, a damn to whatever people are saying. Do whatever you like till the time that is getting you money, fame, designation. Please do that.
That's
Kamini,
very
your next book will be interview the women's cricket team that won the World Cup.
yes.
Each one of them is a story for you.
Yes.
Yeah, they are inspiring.
Yeah, they all come from small villages, all come from persecution, all have fought against their family, all have
I'm sure.
pretended to be
Yeah.
boys and played amongst the boys. And now
Yeah,
finally they've reached exactly where you want them to reach.
yeah, true,
I
true.
am sure.
So,
I am
so
sure you
Kamini,
can just.
Kamini already has that idea for the next book.
Yes.
No, no,
In,
not yet. Still thinking on
in
that. Still
acknowledgement, you
deciding.
can put my name.
Absolutely. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
So, coming to my next question, which is for Mr. Saurabh, that while researching these stories, did any heist change the way you look at crime and human psychology? If yes, which one was it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a great question. There are two that I would really like to call out. So, like I said, see, most of the stories were about poor people from the weaker sections of the society who wanted to earn quick money. That's one. But I think there were two stories which were very interesting to me. One was the story of it's one of the seven stories in the book. So it's a story of Sukhbir Singh Dhillon, who's also popularly known as General Love Singh, and he was a commander of KCA, the Khalistan Commando Force. Now, I mean, if I put the political aspects of the story aside, it's the sheer ideology, right? The ideology that drives people. So he was very close to General Vindranwale, and then there were a lot of this whole Khalistan movement that was basically triggered off, and he was like I said, so he was the commander of the Khalistan Commando Force. So his journey, and so when he conducted this really breathtaking bank robbery. Uh, his From his perspective and his point of view, the objective was very clear. So he wanted money to buy weapons and purchase weapons in order to help the movement that he strongly believed in. So it's a question of his ideology and what he thinks is right. And there's a very interesting anecdote that when he was walking out of the bank after conducting a robbery, so there were already customers inside the bank, who had come to withdraw money or deposit money on that particular day. And there's an old man who sort of comes up to him and says, "Look, you are taking all the money away from the bank, but I have a wedding in the family, and I just came here to withdraw a small amount of, so even if you give me a small amount of money, and it was a very small amount, that would be really helpful." So then Love Singh actually opened up the whole the sack in which he was carrying the money, and he paid much more than the man had asked for, saying that the whole objective of this movement is for the people, and the amount that you are asking for is not enough to conduct that festival very successfully in your family. So here is, I'm giving you more money than what you wanted, and it sort of brings out the essence of the whole story, right? I mean, from his point of view, what he was doing is for the good of the people. And again, we could always take a stand. We could always have a certain political point of view and go against that, but it is what it is. And the other very interesting story which I had was for this very mysterious man, and to be honest, that nobody even till this day knows what exactly was the motivation behind the crime. There are a lot of conspiracy theories, but there was this gentleman called Rustam Nagarwala, who actually impersonated and copied the voice of Indira Gandhi. And he called up the State Bank of India, and he wanted a large amount of money to be transferred, because he said that this is Mrs. Gandhi speaking, and we want this money to be sent to Bangladesh in order to support the battle that they were fighting. And again, that was for me a very interesting story. I mean, why did the man do this at all? He was a retired captain of the Indian Army, and then he conducted this kind of a heist. It is a very exciting story, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of things happened, when the other party came into power back in the day. A lot of people sort of tried to bring out a lot of political implications of the heist. But these two stories were really fascinating for me, and it sort of called out the fact that it's not just for personal greed or for personal gain that people often commit these crimes, but in their minds, they often are doing this for the good of the larger society. That's what some of these criminals, if I call them, they often tend to believe that. So there could be different kinds of reasons why people commit crimes. Yeah.
That is something that I don't think most people really think about when we hear about crimes or when we read about crimes. So that's a
Yeah.
very different angle to put to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my next question and the last one is from Mr. Anand, that Johar in 1981 represents a side of India rarely seen or spoken about. And as a young doctor working with minimal resources, how did those 6 months shape not just your medical practice, but your understanding of humanity, dignity, and service for the rest of your life?
When we went over there, we were fresh medical graduates who have not seen much of life, because soon after school we get into medicine, and then for 4.5 years you get locked in those the confines of the medical college, and you only see suffering, books, library, and endless cups of tea. That's your life. When you want a fresh breather, we used to get out of the college and go for a walk on beach candy and look at all the young people there all dressed up beautifully and say, well, there is some hope, and not that our life is all going to be just remaining within these walls. So when we went to this internship, we went as reluctant starters, because it was just another punishment that you are going into the deep village. So they asked me, why are you taking that spot? Why don't you take an up-down center? An up-down center is a place where you go, you sign, and you go away. No questions asked. And then 6 months is like a vacation for you. So I said, no, I want to go over there and see if I'm fit for surgery. Because there you get a chance to do surgery unsupervised or guided from a distance. So I said, I want to go and see if I'm equipped to be a surgeon. So I chose that place, not knowing anything about that place. But when I went over there, we went through very difficult times. Yet we were happy every day. We lived on 350 rupees per month, and that out of that 50 rupees was saved. 300 was contributed by 6 doctors. 1800 was the kitty, and in that kitty, we had a maid, we had a lady cleaning up our little cottage, and we had all three meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Albeit breakfast would be one item like upma or poha, and lunch would be roti sabji, and dinner would be dal rice. You don't have all four together. So this was our measly living, and we didn't. And at the end of it, we still had 50 rupees to give us a 17 rupee 50 paisa journey back to Bombay to spend time with our parents for some time and come back. So 35 rupees went in that, and we still had 15 bucks spare. So we lived in that, and yet we were happy. So it did teach me a lot of things at that time, but it was all in my subconscious. Because at that time, you're interested in getting a degree, starting practice, becoming a big doctor, success. Success was measured in how many people know your name, and how many people you benefited, as well as how much money was there in your bank balance. So in all that, I lost sight of those things. But somewhere in the inside, it showed that there was still a little spark left. But when I started writing this book, and when I visited that place again, the whole thing got revived. And so I decided that before I wrote the book, I decided to do something for them. Before that, I always thought the book is a possibility, but a book is a very long effort. Let's do something now. So I was being invited by Cathedral School, which is a very prominent school in Bombay, for conducting their SUPW subject, that is socially useful and productive work. And I used to think they used to first take the children to some place and give them brooms and say, okay, 100 meters, you sweep that 100 meters and you've done your subject. And if anyone did it sincerely, he got an A automatically. But I said, no, this is going to got a deeper connotation. So I asked the principal if I could take them out of Bombay for 5 days. And I got that permission. And I so took them out for 5 days, gave them a whale of a time playing amongst themselves, organized team sports, games, and so on. But at the same time, we completed in 5 years with five different batches, five projects in the village. One was that they had a well which was 1.5 kilometers downhill, and every day, 3 times, the women would have to go with large containers, fill the water in the well, and walk up 1.5 kilometers, carrying about 40 liters of water 3 times a day. And I said, why not install a pipe and a pump when there already exists a water reservoir right next to their house? And they said that our pump burnt out 7 years ago and we don't have money to repair it. And our pipeline has remained unused, so we don't know whether it will work. So then we had the pump repaired. And that repair was for us the pittance, because we just all the kids contributed money and got it done. Once the pump was repaired, we discovered that the pipes were rusted. So we dug up the underground pipes, changed those pipes, and lo and behold, we had water right at their doorstep. And we installed new taps where the taps had all gone out of commission. So we changed their life. The women got taps with water flowing right next to their house, and it saved them the trip to the well. Then the next trip we did cleanliness. We swept their entire village and we got them to learn about the importance of cleanliness. Then third time we went there, we painted their entire school, which was completely run down, broken. So we painted it, and we painted the peripheral wall with slogans, ABCD, and all our normal Hindi alphabets. So little children passing by would also read them, and that would be the initiation of their education. And the last time we went there as a team, and we dug 153 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet pits, and then went back there. We raised funds in Bombay and went back and planted 150 cashew nut and mango trees, which now have taken root and now giving fruit to them, which is an additional source of income. So we've done all this for them in the last 5 years. And then after lockdown, we had to stop going there because of obvious reasons. And now we are seeing the results of what we have done. And then by that time, even Lions Club came there and started building small dams for them so they could save the rainwater. And now their water shortage problems are slowly getting mitigated. And I realized that this book has definitely aroused the interest in many people who are now ready to donate money or their time or suggestions of what can be done to mitigate their lives. So all this happened when I picked up the thought of writing this book, and a lot many more
It's
subjects
inspiring.
in my head. So
This is really
really,
inspiring.
thank you. I'm not a veteran writer like you both are. You both have written several books and are
No, but
been
I
in the
think it's all
field.
about the impact.
Yeah,
So I
I've
think
written two books. My previous book was not in the market. The previous book was a book of aphorisms which I collected all my life. And when I was chastised by my physician, my professor, teacher, that I don't go for walk and I don't do exercise, and he said this to me in front of my wife. So my wife, being the biggest catalyst in my life, would get up and send me out of the house at 5:30. So I took that opportunity to photograph sunsets, sunrises. I was always making photographs of sunsets. Then one day when I enlarged a photograph of the sunset and I gifted it to my wife, she told me, she said, "This is sunset. I won't put it up anywhere." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Vastu says that sunset bring darkness. And if you bring darkness in your life, I don't want to have it in my house." And I suddenly realized the truth in that. And then I said, okay, I photograph sunrise. The sunrise bring light in your life. And so I got a collection of some 50 sunrises and positive aphorisms from different religions and put it together in a coffee table book and gifted it to about 300 people and raised funds. I didn't sell it. I gifted it and said, if you like the book, donate money to this cause. And I, to my most amazement, I raised 2 crore 53 lakhs in 1 year
wow,
by just gifting these books. And I put up a palliative care ward for 25 patients in Vasai, which is now
wow.
got 18 patients already admitted. So that's one project I got through that book, which was created at gunpoint. The walks were at gunpoint, and my wife, when she was cleaning up my table, she says, "What is this silly diaries of all your quotations? All these quotations are there on Google. I'm throwing it away." I said, "No, you don't throw it. I'm going to write a book one day." She says, "You and your book. I don't believe it's going to ever happen." And that book raised the money, and I think I'm very proud of that.
No, this is amazing. Absolutely
Very
amazing.
wonderful.
Join the club. I have seen very few sunrises myself.
You
I
should.
remember last time I saw one was, I was in Varanasi and, I had to get up in the morning and see
Yeah,
the
that day we
sunrise
have to wake up much
on the
earlier.
Ganga.
Calcutta,
Yeah,
you have to wake up at 4:32
yeah.
to see a
But otherwise,
sunrise.
I am also a sunset guy. But this is an inspirational story from you.
No,
True.
sunsets actually bring darkness, so never photograph them.
No, I see. It's a very
Enjoy
interesting
them,
viewpoint.
enjoy them, and to go on Kamini's lines, they are good to serenade a girl. But not sunrise, you can't serenade a girl there.
Yeah.
True,
Because
true.
by the time
Very
you
true.
warm up, it becomes bright there.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Sorry, that was not a sexist comment, so don't look at me
No,
with
that
daggers.
was the right spirit.
No.
So that's okay.
But tell me one thing, Saurabh, have you ever, whatever you write and you investigate about crime, have you ever internalized those thoughts? You ever felt
No,
like
no,
you
not,
heist yourself?
not, no, not the intent to commit a crime. I don't kill, but yes. What I have seen in most of the fictional as well as the non-fictional stories is, the whole emotional, the
Yeah,
motivation behind these crimes. Even in a lot of the fictional stories
yeah,
that I write, there is always, a very strong emotional core. So yes, maybe that's something that I do relate with,
yeah.
and that's how, I sort of write and I create on those lines. But I have not obviously gone to the extent of committing a crime out of those emotional things. Yeah,
Well, I had one small take on the side. Is that people, when we see movies with all these crimes and all that, very
yeah,
intricate crimes, and the way you describe your book, I'm sure it tells you about the ins and outs about the criminal and his activity. Don't you
yeah.
think that there will be innocent minds with crime written latently inside their head will suddenly get ideas after reading your book.
Yeah, I mean, see, what I feel is, it happens either way. I think, it's the usual debate of whether, the literature influencing the social behaviors or vice versa, or is do you get inspiration for literature from the society? So I think it's an ongoing
Yeah.
debate,
Yeah,
and I
it's,
always I leave a lot of that to the good sense and judgment of the people, and I always tell myself that uh, if there are lots of excellent books, our ancient texts like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, if those did not influence a lot of people to be nice and good, then maybe even the crime stories would not do the other way around. So that's what I always feel. So
something on a lighter note, if Twinkle permits,
Please,
when
please,
you
who am
talked
I to
about
comment?
you talked about Captain Love Singh. Love Singh.
yeah.
What was his name? What was his name?
Yeah. Sukhdev Singh Dhillon, and he
No,
used to
what did you say
call
his
himself Love
nickname
Singh.
was?
Love Singh,
Uh,
and actually the name was given by his guru, Bhindran Wale. So it
yeah,
love, sort of looks like a brother.
but when
So
you were relating the story about him giving money to that poor chap for his wedding,
yeah,
I could almost visualize him raise his hand and says, "Ja Simran, ji le apni zindagi."
yeah, sort of, yes.
So I couldn't
It
stop
was like
laughing.
that. Yeah, no, it was like that. So and he sort of like I said, he was actually in the police before he
Yeah.
was sort of drawn to that whole